Two orphans, worlds apart, thrown together by fate. A bobcat and a fennec fox, bonded like brothers against all odds. They played, they laughed, they shared a world of wonder. But as the bobcat grew, nature called him home. What happened next shocked everyone at the sanctuary, and if you've ever loved animals, this story is for you. Don't forget to subscribe. In the calm serenity of Silverwood Wildlife Haven, tucked beneath the relentless Arizona sky, a friendship unlike any other was about to blossom between two creatures that fate had thrown together. Meet Ronan, a bobcat kitten whose golden eyes shimmered with untamed wilderness, and Akiro, a spirited little fennec fox with comically oversized ears, able to catch the faintest murmur from afar. From the instant their worlds collided, an invisible thread bound them. They became each other's shadow. Their days echoed with laughter like chirps and playful yips, rounds of hide-and-seek, soft wrestling bouts, and endless chases through the enclosure's corners. At twilight, they curled into one warm bundle under the canopy of stars. But paradise was fragile. Ronan's soul belonged to the wild, and the call of open terrain grew louder with every passing day. What unfolded next was something no one at Silverwood could have foreseen. The sun burned mercilessly overhead, its glare painting mirages above the lonely highways. It seemed like any other sweltering Tuesday, except for the Arizona game and fish officers who were about to dismantle a month-long nightmare. Their target, a decrepit shed crouched on the outskirts of Tucson, its windows sealed against the world. The air inside was heavy with decay and panic. Rusted cages teetered in chaotic stacks, filled with exotic birds gasping for air, reptiles pressed to the corners, and mammals reduced to hollow shells of themselves. There, in the gloom, two tiny beings clung to life. One was a bobcat no older than 6 weeks, blue eyes wide with terror, his once lustrous coat now dull and matted. Torn from his mother mere days ago, he was nothing more than a commodity in the ruthless trade. Across the aisle, in a smaller cage, quivered a fennec fox pup, delicate, with ears too large for his fragile frame. He trembled violently, squeaking in panic, his spirit bruised beyond recognition. The raid was swift, efficient, and silent. Those cage became promises of hope as they were loaded into trucks bound for Silverwood Wildlife Haven, a secluded sanctuary north of Phoenix, dedicated to healing broken lives. At the helm was Dr. Amelia Rhodes, a woman with a quiet strength in hands that spoke in whispers of care. 2 more coming, called Ethan, a young volunteer, as the truck reversed toward the intake bay. Bobcat kitten and a fennec fox pup. Amelia's brow furrowed. Get them inside. Martin, prep quarantine. Martin Hayes, a retired vet turned volunteer, moved with practiced grace, setting up sterile enclosures to ward off the threat of disease. The bobcat was handled first. Barely bigger than Martin's palm, the kitten was frail but alive. Amelia examined him, her touch as gentle as a breath. Dehydrated, malnourished, but no fractures. This little one's a fighter. She administered fluids, then smiled faintly. We'll call him Ronan. It means little seal in an old language I studied. Odd, but somehow fitting for a survivor. Next came the fox. Akiro was a storm in miniature, ears twitching, eyes darting, movements jerky with fear. Easy, buddy, Martin murmured, his baritone a soothing hum. You're safe now. They christened him Akiro, meaning harmony, a wish rather than a truth. For a week, steel mesh and silence kept them apart. Yet, Ronan's golden gaze often sought the blur of pale fur beyond the wire, and Akiro, in turn, fixated on the spotted shadow moving near his cage. 2 orphans, tethered by grief. It was Martin who first glimpsed the miracle. Amelia, look, he whispered one afternoon. Both creatures pressed tiny paws through the mesh, meeting in a gesture that radiated longing. No fear, no hostility, just a bond born in shared loss. Cleared medically, they faced a dilemma: separate species, predator and prey by nature. Logic dictated isolation, but there were no other bobcats, no other fennec foxes in residence. Martin, with decades of instincts, broke the silence in the meeting. I've seen trauma forge ties stronger than instincts. They need each other right now. Amelia hesitated, weighing protocol against compassion. In the end, she yielded. A neutral enclosure was prepared, a playground of logs, hiding nooks, and enrichment toys. Staff gathered, breath bated, as carriers opened. Ronan emerged first, a whisper of shadow against green. Muscles coiled, ears swiveling like radar dishes. Then came Akiro, a streak of pale fire, skidding to a stop in the clearing. They locked eyes. Time paused. The world held its breath. Then a bow. Akiro dipped low, tail wagging in frantic invitation. Ronan's response was a chirrup, bright and unexpected, followed by a soft, clawless swipe to Akiro's twitching nose. In an instant, tension shattered. Joy spilled into motion. From that day, Silverwood's quiet corners rang with music, the patter of paws, the thrum of play. Hide-and-seek became their art form. Ronan melting into foliage, tail tip betraying him. Akiro, ears attuned to secrets, freezing before pouncing with theatrical zeal. Wrestling matches unfolded in tumbling chaos, Ronan holding back his growing strength, Akiro launching ambushes with fearless glee. There were quirks too. Akiro's obsession with Ronan's stubby tail, stalking it with comic precision, leaping triumphantly to capture his prize. Ronan, feigning outrage, swatted lazily, his heart never in the charade. And when lethargy claimed him, he'd simply drape his expanding bulk over the fox like a living blanket. Akiro, muffled but unyielding, endured it all, eyes sparkling with trust. Martin chronicled their saga in tender ink. October 12th. Akiro gifted Ronan a grasshopper today, laying it at his paws like a trophy. Ronan didn't eat it. He sniffed it, then groomed Akiro's head. This is beyond friendship. This is family. Seasons turned. Gold bled into white as snow kissed the pines. Akiro danced in frosty ecstasy. Ronan blinked at the glittering strangeness. Through it all, their bond deepened. But nature whispered its truth. Ronan was no longer a kitten. He was muscle and sinew, grace wrapped in spots. A wild heart in borrowed time. Silverwood's creed was clear: rehabilitate, release. Ronan was Arizona-born. He belonged to the rugged wilderness, not to walls. Akiro, an African native, did not share that destiny. His world would remain enclosed, fragile as glass. And so began the sorrowful countdown to spring, the season of plenty, the season of parting. Preparations began with quiet cruelty, less human contact for Ronan, live prey to hone his instincts, and worst of all, the gradual sundering of his world with Akiro. Separate feedings. Adjacent pens. Distance measured in aching heartbeats. Akiro unraveled first. His bright spark guttered to gray. He paced until his paws ached, yipping plaintively, refusing food. Toys lay untouched. Even the sun seemed to dim in his enclosure. Ronan, stoic but storming within, would sit by the barrier, eyes molten gold fixed on the fox beyond reach. Their reunions, brief, stolen, erupted in frantic joy, only to fracture again at dusk. The eve of release fell like a guillotine. Under a quilt of stars, George, weathered soul that he was, stood sentinel as they curled tighter than ever, as if weaving armor from their own warmth. Tears carved lines down his face. "I'm sorry, boys," he murmured to the night. "So damn sorry." Dawn broke cold and gray. Amelia's hands trembled as she loaded the tranquilizer. Ronan didn't fight. His gaze sought hers, then drifted, soft, lingering, toward the den where Akiro hid, quaking. The dart sang. Limbs sagged. Farewells bled into silence. Miles away, in the vast spine of the Tonto National Forest, they opened the crate to a world Ronan was born for. Jagged cliffs, whispering pines, wind tasting of freedom. He woke, stretched, shook the fog from his mind, and stepped into eternity. Muscles coiled, senses aflame. He cast one last look, long and searching, then vanished with a flick of his tail, a ghost claimed by the wild. Back at Silverwood, absence became a wound. Akiro scoured their old haunts, the hollow log, the sun-warmed stone, the patch of grass that had cradled their laughter. Every step hollowed by silence. One cry broke from him, raw and rending, cleaving the quiet like glass. A sound no one forgot. Days soured into weeks. Hope thinned. Akiro starved for joy, dwindling into a wraith of fur and sorrow. Enrichment failed. Companions failed. He was waiting for a shadow that never came. Meanwhile, cameras sang a colder truth. Ronan thrived. The footage bore witness: clean kills, bold climbs, a sovereign of cliffs. Amelia showed the staff. See? We did right. Her smile cracked under its own weight. Did they? Autumn's breath chilled the pines when destiny bent the rules. Ethan, rinsing pathways one dusky November day, froze at a sound curling from the woods. A cough bark. Bobcat's him. Common enough here. He turned back to his hose. Then it came again, nearer, fierce with intent. From the enclosure erupted an answering volley, yips shrill with unspent joy. Ethan sprinted, heart hammering, and skidded to a stop. His jaw unraveled. There, beyond the fence, pacing like a storm caged in stripes, leaner, scarred, eyes blazing like twin suns, stood Ronan. Not wandering, not hunting, waiting, calling. For a hero. The fox was incandescent, ricocheting off the mesh, his cries a river of light. Staff flooded the path, speech stilled, breath stolen. Rules shriveled in the heat of what they witnessed. This was no accident. This was pilgrimage. Open it, Martin rasped. Amelia gaped. You can't be. Do it, his voice a verdict carved in stone. Metal moaned as the gate yielded. Ronan sliced through like a blade of dusk, zeroed on Akiro's pen. The door swung. Time shattered. They collided in a supernova of fur and sound. Ronan's purr rolled like distant thunder as he buried his face in Akiro's neck. The fox licked, nipped, claimed the bobtail he dreamed of for months. They wrestled, tumbled, sang their old songs in the language only they knew. Tears spattered Amelia's cheeks unchecked. Science, protocol, reason, all ashes before this living proof of devotion untamed. That night, under fevered debate, a truth rose clear. Ronan had tasted two worlds and chosen one. Chosen him. Amelia's voice trembled with the answer. No cages. No partings. We give him both. A week later, the solution stood, a portal of freedom cut into Akiro's world. A bobcat-sized door leading to the wild beyond. No chains, no locks. His choice. Always his. And so Ronan lived as nature wrote him. Phantom of ridges, lord of pines. But he came back. Always. For nights warmed by fur twined in fur, for the heartbeat of a friend. Their reunions kindled laughter across the sanctuary, a hymn of love older than language. Because in the hush of Silverwood, two creatures rewrote the laws of Earth. That family is forged, not born. That home is not a map but a soul. And that friendship is the wildest miracle of all.